Hello, my name's Jonny Drury. Welcome to ShropshireStar.com. I'm joined by Shrewsbury Town correspondent Lewis Cox. Lewis, last time I spoke to you, Shrewsbury couldn't buy a goal. All of a sudden, it was raining goals on Tuesday night. What the hell was going on down the Montgomery Waters Meadow?
Yeah. The floodgates opened, didn't they? 5-0, biggest win of the season by some distance. Let's be fair, certainly in the league. I know they battered Stratford Town in the FA Cup, didn't they? But biggest league win for 7 years plus. Got us all sort of reaching for the record books. 1991, biggest league win at that level. I said to the manager afterwards during the interview, I mean, it's something Town fans aren't accustomed to, is it? Those kind of victories. Obviously, they've been low scorers this season, as you say, but it's the biggest league win for Town I've covered. I just missed that Bury one in 2014, so it doesn't happen too often. So kind of enjoy it where we can, and it was it was good. I mean, strange for a 5-0, given that on 44 minutes it was 0-0, and you're kind of looking at it wasn't the most inspiring first half of Town season, to be honest. Morecambe were doing all right, and that Udoh opener before half time was massive. And obviously Town won a penalty 30 seconds into the second half, and Morecambe just crumbled. Fair play Town. A couple of individuals were brilliant, and let's just hope that it's sort of a bit of a spark to some more goals, more high scoring games before the end of the season, because as I think we probably said in the last video, they have played well of late. They've played well of late, and they were just missing that result, those goals to give them the wins they deserve. So, it doesn't get much tougher than Saturday, though, does it?
It doesn't. Just as a side note for Shrewsbury Town fans, Lewis Cox was getting very, very excited in our work chat on Tuesday evening. Shrewsbury, who was obviously struggling, looking down. By the end of the game, they were looking at automatic promotion, as Lewis Cox was getting so excited.
What's that off a playoff, shall we?
I think it was playoffs at 3-0. It was automatic promotion.
Yeah.
But like you said, Lewis, Steve Coxall's comments after, he said that was on the cards. Do you think that's the case, or do you think it was just a night where everything just went right for Salop?
Yeah, I mean, let's be fair. Second half, Morecambe, crumbled totally. 2-0 the penalty. Seeing it wasn't harsh, but he sort of just leant into it and it's hit his arm from a long shot. The third, Leahy puts in the top corner a couple of minutes later, and from a Morecambe perspective, at 3-0, it's gone, isn't it? It's gone, but couple of great, Udohs to make it 4. I think I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I think that was before the hour. When you fall down at the hour, it's a real hammering, isn't it? But Udoh's 4th after Lee's 3rd was excellent. 2 really high quality goals, and I sort of thought Town had been done with 4. To be honest, they made a couple of changes. I didn't necessarily think, I thought Morecambe would really try and shut up shop, but Bowman headed in an excellent back post header for 5. And I mean, there's still 20 minutes to go. It's a bit of a shame they couldn't, make it even heavier, sort of trouble those 7-goal wins from the noughties. But great night. I mean, what you say, were they threatening it, as the manager kind of alluded to in his interview afterwards? I would say they've certainly been threatening wins. You would never say they had 20 odd shots at Cambridge, didn't they, in the 0-0? And it's kind of an irony that they didn't manage goals in any of those, despite some, speak of Luke Leahy, he's missed from like a couple of yards at the end of that game. And then the irony that, as you say, it's raining goals a couple of games later. They've been threatening wins, haven't they, of late? Certainly even against good teams, better teams than Morecambe. But I think Morecambe were just, obviously, what are they, 22nd? And they looked doomed, to be honest. They were the unfortunate victims, really.
And you look at the score sheet, obviously Dan Udoh got a couple, Ryan Bowman got his goal as well, which is going to do them the world of good for confidence. But just a special Luke Leahy, I think he got 2 assists, 2 goals. He has been Salop's standout man this season, hasn't he?
Yeah. He's surefire hot favourite for player of the season, isn't he? Wrote something for Friday's Shropshire Star and for the website as well. Sort of looking forward to the Rotherham game, and a few comments from the manager from the other night on Leahy. Great story, really. Bit of an unbelievable story. 29-year-old left wing back, to be shunted into centre midfield. Well, not shunted, but moved there because the manager saw something in training. We all saw Leahy in central midfield for a couple of games and thought, what's this? This is strange. Doesn't seem to be working. Obviously, Town were struggling badly, weren't they, at that early stage of the season? But by, say, October, I think he'd settled in that position. And I don't think it's an exaggeration to say, literally by the week since then, he's been getting better and better and better. And, his output is excellent, isn't it? 9 goals, just trailing the front 2. I had a look today, actually, 6 League One assists as well. So he's Town's best assister in the division as well. What's that? 15 goal involvements, which must be quite up there for the league, certainly for his position. But, he's not just that in terms of the attacking output. It was 89th minute, I think, and someone charged back to block a Cole Stockton shot for Morecambe. Morecambe were threatening the consolation to make it 5-1 and Town get a big block in, and it's Luke Leahy. I thought it was one of the centre halves, to be honest. I thought, well, that's a great block from Pennington or Flanagan, and it was Leahy who's there, sort of stretching out his cramp, which was understandable because he, as he always seems to do, just gets through a shift. Real team player on the basis of that. And yeah, I mean, if the season were to finish, today, tomorrow, unquestionably player of the season. Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen in these final 8 games, I think it is. But yeah, it'd be a big surprise if he doesn't take on that prize. Been superb player of the season.
They're open. Well, Steve Cotterill will be open. The floodgates have sort of been jammed open ahead of this weekend. I'm sure he'll take 1-0 rather than 5-0 as they travel to the leaders Rotherham. They'll be taking.
You'd probably take 0-0 up there, wouldn't you?
Given
their
just on 0-0. I'm sure they'll take heart from that 0-0 in the reverse fixture at the Montgomery Waters Meadow a few weeks ago. Lewis, it's going to be a tough ask, isn't it? Like you say there, I think you'd probably take a point.
Yeah, I mean, when Rotherham came to Shropshire a few weeks ago, or a couple of Tuesdays ago, they were flying. Like, I think it was 8 wins in 9 in 10, something like that. They were scintillating. They looked like they were winning it at a gallop. To be fair, from Wigan, who are another excellent side. But Rotherham were very good first half that night. It was probably as we expected. Town trying to defend, trying to hang on. They got in at the break 0-0. Somehow Rotherham should have scored, I think. But I don't think any of us really expected that second half where it was one-way traffic in Shrewsbury's favour. Rotherham looked like they didn't know what hit them that night. They really did. Interesting thing from that night, Rotherham made 4 or 5 changes. I know they had some injuries, and I think they looked at that night as a game, as a chance to rest people, and maybe it bit them a bit because they had a big game against MK, who were third on the Saturday, and I think they chose Shrewsbury as a game where they could, give them a chance to make a couple of changes. And I mean, it didn't not pay off because they still got a point, but Town nearly, obviously George Nurse hit the woodwork. Town nearly made them pay, to be honest. Not saying that it was all Town because of the changes, but you'd think that was a factor. Interesting for Rotherham since they went and lost that MK Dons game at home, ironically. Squeezed through in their trophy semi-final to Wembley, then dropped more points in the league at Wycombe with a draw, and only really got back on track with a crucial, narrow and tight 2-1 home win over sort of struggling Lincoln at Tuesday night. So I don't think they're brilliant by all accounts, made hard work of it, certainly. So, but at least they got back to winning ways. I don't think we'll see sort of quite the mishmashed Rotherham team at the New York Stadium on Saturday that we did at the Meadow, albeit they have got a couple of key injury doubts, I think, certainly in midfield with Rathbone and Barlasser, who are doubts, apparently have knocks. So, yeah, I don't think they'll maybe take Town as for granted as possibly they did here, albeit, let's be fair, they should have put the game to bed in Shrewsbury by half time. But yeah, I mean, I fancy Town. These kind of away games where no one gives them much of a hope. They've got to go and be resilient, drilled, set up, maybe look to counter. It often suits Town, doesn't it? So, I still expect Town to give them a good go. Hold them out, and maybe nick a draw. Yeah, it'll be an interesting one, but I don't think it's a foregone conclusion.
Be a nice journey back home with a point from Rotherham. Lewis, just finally, any team news? Any standout team news, or are you expecting sort of similar side that played on Tuesday night?
Not really, to be honest, Johnny. I mean, obviously last Saturday, we spoke ahead of that, didn't we? The visit of Oxford to the Meadow, another side flying Oxford. Town lost that, of course, 2-1, but gave a really sort of good account of themselves. Didn't really deserve to lose. were hit against the run of play twice after levelling, conceded a late one. So Steve Cotterill rewarded that side with the same 11, same 18 actually for the Morecambe game, and well, we all know what happened against Morecambe with a 5-0. So you know, how do you change the 11 from a 5-0? I don't think you can you really? Certainly if there are no problems, there are no suspensions, there are no knocks we know of. There could be a surprise, but I don't think I saw anyone sort of struggling other than a bit of cramp for Leahy the other day. So I don't think you can change it. Josh Fella's come back in the side, hasn't he? We spoke about that last week from his ban. Few were questioning that, saying, did Tom Bloxham deserve it? Possibly not. But, you know, Vella, you know, certainly up there with Leahy for me, if not ahead Leahy as Town's key man, best player. So you play him if he's available, in my opinion. So for a big game like that, I think he'll stay involved. Sean Morley's the other one, isn't he? Obviously back from that 4-month injury layoff. Made the big 250, didn't he, last weekend, which was superb to see. Got great sort of reception. Same again on Tuesday night when he came on. So he's pushing, getting more minutes under his belt. I don't think this is the occasional game to throw him in from the start, though. Perhaps see how Saturday goes, and then Town don't have a midweek game next Tuesday, so a nice little sort of break, 4 weeks training. So let's see how that goes. But no, I can't see any issues why the same 11 and same 18 won't be involved again, to be honest. And like I said, Rotherham have the issues really with Ollie Rathbone in midfield, with Dan Barlasser as well, sort of potentially struggling amongst others. So it'll be interesting to see how their team sheet arrives on Saturday. But yeah, we'll obviously bring the coverage and be good. We haven't been up there for a little while, Rotherham, a couple of years, even though they seem to flip between the two divisions, giving promotion a great crack as they always seem to do. But yeah, looking forward to it. It's a decent place to go.